Hello.
Hello?
Hello. Hey, it sounds like Alan.
It sounds like Brian.
Yes.
How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How have you been?
Very well, thank you. Lovely to hear your voice. It's been ages, Brian.
Yeah, I've been great.
I've got to ask you straight away, Brian.
Okay.
Just a few hours after the election results, did you vote?
Yes, I did.
Who did you vote for?
Trump.
I'm going to ask you why.
Well, because I think he is a little more trustworthy than she is. Hillary has just got so many scandals that she's allegedly been involved with. And I've experienced Hillary Clinton's State Department. You probably remember that.
Yeah, we should go through that in a minute. We'll talk all about that. I just wonder, just while we're on the election, we've got plenty to talk about, Brian. But,
yeah.
You know, how much were you following this election?
Oh, I've been following it religiously over the past year and a half, ever since they both started campaigning. I've watched all the Republican debates, a lot of YouTube, a lot of alternate media sources, and of course I've watched the mainstream media spin on everything.
The while you've been watching, Brian, has your mind or has your decision changed, do you think?
No, I knew who Hillary was before she even announced her campaign, and I knew I wasn't voting for her.
It sounds like nor were that many people in Idaho. Idaho has become a Trump state. I don't know the final percentage, but what was it, Brian?
I think it was 57 to 38 or something along those lines. So 57% for Trump and 38 for Clinton, and then the difference in third-party candidates.
And tell me, Brian, are you from a Republican family?
My family did tend to vote Republican most of the time. They're very conservative. But I don't really consider myself a Republican. And Donald Trump isn't really what you would consider the average Republican either. So he kind of squeezed his way into the Republican Party.
I think you've made a really interesting point there. I suppose in a way, that's it. It's the fact that he doesn't resemble your typical politician. And I suppose, for you, Brian, was that a good thing?
Yes, I think politics is what's wrong with the country. Ronald Reagan said government is not the solution to our problems. Government is the problem. And the government not necessarily is the biggest problem, it's the politics driving government. The backroom deals that go on, false information going out the media, and things like that.
And I suppose when you first saw Donald Trump enter the arena, come on the scene, did you think he was for real? Obviously you would have known of him through television and so forth, and for another kind of life. Did you think this guy is for real? This guy could become a president?
Yes, I actually thought he was a winner when I started listening to him. I've looked for him for probably 12 years to enter the election. He's always kind of talked about it, but,
It's so interesting for me, Brian, obviously, because, I've been to the States, but I'm a Londoner, I'm from the UK, and I'm just so interested in, for yourself, what Donald Trump represents. When you hear him speak and when you see him, I just wonder what he represents to you.
He represents the real American people, not the politically correct. He doesn't say things because it may be politically expedient. He speaks his mind, and I think we need somebody like that. Not to mention the fact that he's been living the American dream for all his life, basically. He's what everybody wants to be here in this nation. I'd love to borrow $1 million again. I think I've borrowed $1 million in my time, but I didn't. I wasted it, and he put it to good use.
I didn't know that you borrowed $1 million.
Well, probably over my lifetime, between the cars I've bought, my house, things like that. My second house, I borrowed over $20,000 for a truck at one point in time. Over $200,000 on my home, so If I had to do it all over again, I'd have probably done what Trump's doing, borrow $1 million and turn it into a multi-billion-dollar company.
That is something that you admire, but also you feel is something that, in a way, you want from your next president.
Yes, I want somebody who's not put there by the elite, special interest. I want somebody who's self-made and runs the presidency on his own. A president is a standalone guy, but he has a team of people surrounding him, giving him advice. And I think Donald Trump has the know-how and knows the right people to get things done. He wouldn't be where he's at today if he didn't.
And I wonder for you, Brian, you just take me through how it worked for you. Did you actually vote? Did you go to a polling booth? Did you like physically put an X by Trump's name?
Yes.
So you did it the old traditional way. So how did it work for you yesterday? So we're talking. What time did you vote? Before work? How did it work?
I actually took a couple hours off because I expected long lines. That wasn't the case. It took me longer to park my car than it took me to walk in and vote.
Where did you vote?
I voted at one of the local high schools.
And when you go in to vote, are there people kind of canvassing you? Are there people sort of trying to change your decision as you're walking through?
Oh, no.
What's the atmosphere like? No.
It was actually great. I walked right up to the counter, gave them my name, gave them my ID, and they found me on the list and handed me the papers and said, "There's a booth."
And you knew exactly who you were going to vote for. No sudden change of mind.
Yes. And it wasn't an anti-Hillary vote. It was a pro-Trump vote. I'm not really anti-Hillary. I disagree with a lot of her politics, as I do a lot of the liberal left-wing politics.
I suppose, were you at that point where you felt sort of the time is now right? I've been waiting for this in the case of the last two elections. Obviously the Democrats have been in for 8 years. So to a certain extent you can say you've been waiting for this time for 8 years.
Yes.
And you voted and you went back to work.
Yeah, well, I didn't go back to work. By the time I was done voting, it was actually time to go home from work anyway. So.
And what was the atmosphere of work? When people, I just wonder what it's like in election day in the States. Are people talking about it? Is there an atmosphere that is generated by the day?
There is an atmosphere where you kind of need to choose who you're talking to, because there's a mixed. The organization I work at is so diversified. There was a lot of Hillary supporters, a lot of Trump supporters, a lot of independents. I was tempted to write in my own name because I knew Idaho was going to go Trump.
Yeah, you can do that in the States. You can write yourself in.
Yeah. Yes.
So in your work environment, did you feel that you had to keep a bit quiet? You just kept it to yourself who you're going to vote for?
Not necessarily. I just needed to know who I told. I didn't want to share it with the person around the corner that is a known Hillary supporter. I don't like to argue politics with anybody.
Yeah. And I suppose for you, the next thing is just watching the election unfold. Did you follow it on television? Were you watching the whole thing through?
Oh, yes. Anna and I both. Even the children walked in because this is new to them. They've never seen this. Oh, yeah. In fact, I fell asleep. But Anna was still watching it, and I woke up, and it was right after Hillary had called Donald Trump to congratulate him.
And when you heard that, what did that make you feel?
It felt like a huge weight had lifted off my chest. This election period has been the most difficult election I have witnessed in my lifetime. More mudslinging than ever before.
In some ways, for you, is that a good thing? It actually, people got to say the things that you felt needed to be articulated, the kind of things that maybe
Exactly, and I'm part of what they call a silent majority. It kind of came out this election. You know, the polls were wrong. The mainstream media didn't understand what was going on, but there were a couple of them, commentators that were saying, you know, we missed this huge rural population of the country.
And so interesting. I wonder, what would you call yourself? You know, there's everyone is now a commentator. There's, you know, everywhere you turn the television on, you read newspapers. There's all these people who are pundits. They're commentators. You know, they describe, they profile everybody. Everyone is given a type. You know, how would you describe yourself, Brian? You know, where do you fit?
You know what? I don't fit in any box, that's for sure. So putting a label on myself would be putting myself into a box, so to speak. I would say I'm conservative would be one word to describe me. But I'm a free thinker. I don't take for granted just because I'm told something, that's how it is. I'm a fact checker. If I have a question, I will do my own research. I won't take somebody else's word for it. And I'm kind of philosophically driven. I'm just open-minded.
Yeah. And would you put the other labels, the kind of, you know, white, blue collar, working class? I don't know how you would, you know, would you put those kind of, attach those kind of labels?
Yeah. I would be considered blue collar, working class. I'm definitely not Trump, that's for sure. If I had 1/10 of his money, I'd be, you know, doing well.
It's a lot of money, though. There's a lot of money. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about the dream, isn't it? Because I suppose everyone, you know, a lot of Americans, that's part of it. You do dream about, you know, owning that kind of money, being able to, you know, the fact that you can do that in America. He's an American who's done that, or his family.
Yes, and he hasn't broken any laws doing it. I heard the Clinton campaign talking about bankruptcy. Well, there's a lot of politicians that have filed bankruptcy. There's a lot of companies that do it. They're following the law.
And I wonder, Brian, how do you think Donald Trump can represent you?
I think he represents me by not representing those who want power over me.
And the kind of people or the kind of system that sort of initiates that kind of power over the individual. What is that? You know, so what makes him different?
He just doesn't accept the status quo, and I don't. I think it can be better and it can be changed, but it can't be done through politics. It's got to be done from the ground up.
And I wonder for you, Brian, were there any particular policies, any particular planks of the election manifesto that you thought, you know, yeah, I agree with that. That's what I wanted to hear.
Oh, yes, I love his ideas on border security. I love his economics plans, reviewing old trade deals that aren't quite what we expected them to be. Honestly, I haven't disliked any one of his policies or what he envisions that he's going to accomplish. Now, can he accomplish what he says he's going to do? I don't know. But 100% of them never do.
Well, we're talking just hours after the results have come through. You sound delighted that there has been a victory for Donald Trump, and he will be the next president of USA.
Yeah.
You know, I'm certain that, you know, if we'd had this conversation a couple of years ago, you'd have thought I was most probably a little bit bonkers. And now the day has arrived. You know, when did it actually hit home? When did you suddenly think Trump will be the next president of the USA?
Last night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, just as I was turning off the TV, I'm realizing, yep, it's over. No more worries about Crooked Hillary getting into the office. I came up with a message I wanted to send out to Trump today on Twitter, and I did that when I woke up in the morning, so...
What did you say?
I got my phone talking to you, so I can't read the tweet, but I told him he needs to pick an independent prosecutor to research the Clinton Foundation and Hillary's apparent lawlessness. From the things that WikiLeaks has come out with, it just seems to be an overwhelming amount of evidence pointing to criminal activity through the Clinton Foundation and through the State Department while she was there. To me, what she has done amounts to treason. And that's a harsh word. I'm not the only one that's saying it, though. I would have never imagined my saying that about Hillary Clinton a year and a half ago. I knew she wasn't completely honest, but I had no idea it went that deep.
And you said that you now feel that a weight has been lifted off your shoulders, off the American people, the combined shoulders of the American people. In what way do you think? What do you think? Obviously, what way has that weight been lifted?
Whenever there's a lot of mudslinging going on in a general election or primary elections, you tend to catch a lot of that mudslinging, and it adds weight to your shoulders. That is the weight. I'm glad to see this election there's a final result. I'm glad to see it's all done. I was kind of tired halfway through the primaries, and I got really tired if every time I turn on the news it's Hillary did this. And I don't know how much you've been following over there. I'm sure you have, but every time you turn on the mainstream media, it's something else. So,
well, absolutely. It almost, you sort of, because you hear so much, you almost not sure what to believe in. And I suppose it's interesting that, you feel that some of the things that Trump has been saying, you believe in. You feel he's been saying the right thing, whether it's to do with this, sort of greater control of the borders around the US, particularly perhaps, the Mexican border, but even beyond, to people from further afield. Do you think that is something that Trump will go ahead and do?
I think he will, and there's already ideas been thrown around. They've been coming up with plans to how to get this done and how to get Mexico to pay for it. We have confiscated warehouses full of cash from the drug cartels in Mexico. Well, what better use for all that billions of dollars of cash that we have stacked on pallets than to build a wall with? I didn't doubt one bit Trump's claim that Mexico would pay for it, because yes, we do have a huge trade deficit with Mexico, as we do China and other countries. We need to level the playing field, and part of that is building the wall.
And of course, on the other hand, a significant percentage of Hispanic Americans voted for Trump.
Yes. Cuban Americans, African Americans. He outnumbered Mitt Romney in all the minority voter.
Yeah, it is amazing. I think we're talking at a time of it's history, isn't it? What has happened in America has never quite happened before.
Yes.
There's no comparison with people maybe compare slightly with Reagan, but no, Reagan had been a senator for years. He was a political animal.
Yes.
This is something so different. You're living it. You're living through a remarkable moment in America's history. I've got to ask you, obviously it's been so long since we've spoken, there's so much to talk about. Of course, the other thing is that, if we're just going to talk about us for a second, Brian,
yes.
When we first spoke, obviously Obama, it was most probably still in the first campaign. I think it was during Obama's first 4 years, his first term.
Yes.
And obviously Anna was still in Russia. You, of course, are in Boise. You had struck it up. You had started this this remarkable conversation that would lead, at that point, you never knew where it was going to lead.
Yes, and part of my experience with Hillary Clinton has been personal. Not like face-to-face personal, but when we filed for the visa to allow Anna to come over here and marry me, the State Department under Hillary Clinton, mind you, this was during her tenure, and I provided evidence to my state senator, Senator Risch, in an email indicating that this State Department is corrupt. They're sitting on forms unless you're paying to play. And I basically told him that in the email. You can read it on the blog. There's a letter to my senator.
What were you saying? This was the time when, just to clarify, Brian, here you were in Boise. You wanted to get a visa for Anna to come to the U.S. And that was for Anna and her 2 children?
Yes. Yes.
And for that visa to be processed, was that where was the obstacle? At what point, after you writing this requesting a visa for Anna, where was the first obstacle?
The first obstacle was going through the State Department.
Yeah.
I submitted the application. It was an application for the K-1 visa. And the problem was they'd receive it and they had a timeline on their website. They said, well, the estimated timeline is 3 months, 4 months. And at the same time, we're following these forums where other people who are going through mail order bride services, they pay $10,000, $20,000. They go to Russia or some other country, and this company pays for all the legal stuff. Well, the State Department was processing those before they processed the average Joes. I had evidence. I had forums. Somebody who'd filed 6 months after us through this Mail Order Bride Incorporated service, they were getting approved after 3 months, and this is 8 months into our process, and it's the same service center, the California Service Center.
So it was like kind of you were almost like you slipped into quicksand or something. You just got sucked into the system, and
yes,
and in a way that system represents, in a way, how would you kind of, at what point does that system sort of represent kind of the Clinton philosophy?
Immigration Services is under the Secretary of State. And Hillary was the Secretary of State at the time. And what I outlined in my email to Senator Risch was the fact that the USCIS under the State Department, they were prioritizing somebody who was going through a company that provided this service over the average American. And they're supposed to work for us. This service that is provided by the State Department is not a service, it's a Ponzi scheme. If you're paying to play, you get processed. If you're not, you get stuck in a basement somewhere, and they even told us there was a flood, that they lost a lot of the papers. I mean, this is stuff we got from the USCIS, which turned out to be lies.
And I suppose you would think that most probably, if you were to have this conversation with Donald Trump, he would agree with you. He would think, like, how can we redress this? How can we change the system?
Yes. How can we put it back into the hands of the people? How can we give accountability to these people that get into politics and their goal is to get rich using taxpayer money? Offering kickbacks. If you're with this company, mailorderbride.com, and you pay us $2,000 cash, we'll process your application.
Well, we're now talking 2016. When I was with you and Anna, in the courtroom, for your wedding. I still remember it. It just, I can't believe it. I can't believe I was there. Think of the conversations we had, and I ended up being with you, being a witness.
Yes, that was a surprise, wasn't it? Yeah, we still have your signature on the paper.
That was. So remind me of the date of your wedding.
Oh, that would have been September 20th.
The year?
So that would have been 2013, yep. 3 years ago.
Obviously I've got so many questions to ask you both, really, but I must ask you, how is Anna doing?
She's doing good. She's still working on her book, but it's been found that she has cataracts in one eye and she can't really see, so she's got to go in for surgery next week to get her vision back so she can continue writing. She loves to write.
And can I ask, is she writing in Russian or in English?
Russian, and I'm translating into English. It's our story we're writing, yeah. So I kind of roughly translate it, and I try to add a little bit. We were actually working with another author helping us write. We've got about 100 pages into our 200-page novel.
How exciting! Oh, that's amazing! And so Anna's been writing. I remember she always loved books, and she talked a lot about her
yes.
And how is her English?
It's getting better. We rarely pick up Google Translator anymore. Sometimes we need a little help from her son Ivan or daughter Maria. They're both doing real well in school. Yvonne received the Presidential Award for Academic Excellence.
So they've both done very well, and they're speaking English. They are now young Americans.
Yes, and in fact, Maria's taking Spanish this year after French. She had French, so Maria's going to be trilingual by the time she graduates.
How exciting! It's amazing, and was Anna able to vote in the election?
No.
So, she was able to vote. She did have a vote. She was, in all intents and purposes.
No.
No. Right.
Not legally.
Right. Okay.
Now, anybody can go in and sign an affidavit saying they're Joe Schmuckatelli and vote anyway, and people do it. In fact, I've heard stories that a lot of dead people voted in former elections and probably this election. How that happens? Voter fraud is how that happens.
Yeah, so what is Anna's status now, Brian? What is her status?
Believe it or not, they sent us a request for evidence about 8 months ago.
Yes.
Saying that they don't believe that she came over here with good intentions. We had to fill out more paperwork. We had to get friends to write letters saying, hey, she's still married. So we're still in the process of getting her a green card, because what she got was a conditional green card, which was good for 3 years.
Yes.
And then she has to provide evidence that she's still married to me in order to get the conditions removed. So we haven't yet heard back from them. So I don't know exactly what her status is. We've done everything to follow the law. So at this point in time, she should be legal. But we haven't received confirmation from the State Department or the USCIS Immigration Services yet on a status update. So we're still waiting. So it still could, who knows?
So Anna wasn't able to vote. She didn't have the status to vote.
No.
I wonder, under Trump, what impact it may have on her status as it stands at the moment.
I think her status will remain good because she's, even Trump, when he talks about rounding up, people, he's not talking about taking, a wife and 2 kids away from their spouse. He's talking about the criminals that are coming over here and raping, killing, and they're here illegally. And they come across, they break the law, they get sent back, they come back across. A border full of Swiss cheese. I would be more worried about her status if Hillary Clinton was elected than if Donald Trump. I don't worry about Donald Trump forcing Anna to go back.
Right. I wonder. That's a good point. I just wonder how she feels now, 3 years on. Do you think Anna is sort of, in a way, adapting to America? In a way, she is becoming American.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you can't be here as long as she has without adapting. I wouldn't say she's Americanized. I love her the way she is.
and well, obviously, please send Anna my very best wishes, and also the best wishes from Lawrence as well. Please send her, say big hi from us. I just wonder. So tell me, Anna, Anna's writing at the moment. Has she managed to find a job of any kind? Has she managed to, any way of earning some money for the household?
She works part-time with cleaning some houses. She's way overqualified for the job, but we generally make ends meet without the need for her to go to work. When she first got here, she applied for various jobs, but just her English wasn't good enough. But for now, about once, maybe twice a week, she'll go out and clean a house, and she'll have some extra spending money for herself. And her daughter now has a part-time job at McDonald's.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Well, in a way, you can't get more American than that, and particularly as a first job. That's a kind of classic first job.
Exactly. She's on the cheerleading squad at school, and she's doing work at McDonald's. So she's glad to have some money in her pocket.
It's, she really has. And I suppose in a way for youngsters, younger people, schooling and so forth, you're just going to kind of sail into that kind of way of life, aren't you? When I met her, she hardly spoke any English at all. She was so shy. Do you remember? She
Yes.
really wouldn't talk at all. And 3 years on, my word, must it's amazing what can happen. It's phenomenal. So Brian, basically, and Anna's, she's writing, but you said that she's got one cataract, two.
One. Well, the second one isn't as bad.
Right.
But yeah, I believe it's her left eye is just it's like looking through a windshield covered with milk. It's she can't hardly see to read or write at this point in time, and it's been going on. It's probably been 3 months. She tried glasses, she tried various things, nothing worked, and so the writing's on hold, unfortunately, until after her cataract surgery, which is on Monday.
So, well, I please, we're rooting for her, And what about the cost of the surgery?
The cost is, apparently the insurance company should pick up most of it. I've heard the cost is, even without insurance, is under $500, so it's not that expensive. So if we do have to pay for it, we can probably afford it. So.
And couldn't she qualify for Obamacare, some kind of help?
I've already got insurance through my work, so Obamacare isn't necessary. It's just another form of insurance.
Right. Well, Brian, obviously, police and I'm wondering, just to say, obviously, there's so much to talk to you about. Here in the UK, it's quarter to 7, 1842. There's someone tapping away at the studio door. Can I ring you back?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Fantastic. Can we do that, Brian? Would that be okay? Because I don't want to rush it now. I got someone banging on the door.
Okay.
I got so much to talk to you. It's been so long.
Yes, it has been. So.
Brian, for now, thank you. So just to confirm, you're at your lunch break. I got you at a good moment. You know, what is the time with you now? It's 18:42
Yes,
here in the UK. What is it with you?
It is 11:42 right now, so it's almost noon. I just took an early lunch. My lunch hours are flexible, so if you call me at 10:30, I can probably take a half hour for lunch. 10:30. So
look, Brian, for now, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been too long.
Yes, it has.
But to be continued. To be continued. But obviously, if between now and next time we speak, which hopefully will be in a few hours, just say a big hi to Anna if you get a chance to give her a ring or just to say big hi from me. And
I will certainly do that.
That is brilliant. Well, look, for now, Brian, thank you. And well, I suppose we're still as we speak now, it's still within the second term of Obama's presidency, but
yes,
obviously it's a new wave for America. We're speaking on a. I thought today was a very appropriate day to give you a ring. It's a big new moment in the U.S. in the history of the U.S.
Yes, it is. Like you said earlier, it's something that has never occurred throughout U.S. history. Because usually we're electing somebody with political or military experience.
Indeed.
So,
absolutely. Yeah, this is, you're right. It's in the modern day, in the modern era, in living memory, nothing we've seen like this.
Yes.
Long. Well, for now, Brian, thank you so much. I'm going to dash for a second, but I'll be back in touch.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
For now, brilliant. Brian, thank you.
All
Thank you so
right.
much.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.
Yep. Cheers.